The United States ambassador to the UN has accused Rwanda of fueling instability and war as the Rwanda-backed advance of the M23 rebel group in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo threatens to derail U.S. President Donald Trump's efforts to broker peace in the region. The rebels' gains brings the conflict to the doorstep of neighboring Burundi, and Burundi had troops in eastern Congo for years. This aggravates fears of further regional spillover of fighting that has already killed thousands of people and displaced hundreds and thousands more since January. Let's listen in to what the ambassador has shared.
So rather than a march towards peace, as we saw under President Trump's leadership in recent weeks, Rwanda is leading the region towards increased instability and war. And in light of the commitments made in the Washington Accords, we are deeply concerned that the Rwandan military's continued presence in Congolese territory in support of M23, and we will use the tools at our disposal to hold to account spoilers to peace.
Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Ayanagauluk Paul. He's a public affairs analyst, joins us live from Lagos. Thank you very much, Mr. Paul, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, what more can you tell us about this situation and greetings. How does Rwanda's support for M23 reflect broader patterns of regional power dynamics in Great Lakes region?
Well, the stories from Rwanda, Burundi, and Congo do not really add up as far as I'm concerned. While, yes, it has been established in many quarters that Rwandan is supporting the M23 rebel, but to what extent does Rwanda has control over the M23 rebel is a question nobody is asking. I don't want to jump and join US in its accusation because I'm wondering if Rwanda do not want to go through the path of peace, would their president have gone to the US to sign that peace deal? There is something not adding up. And for me, with my experience with the US, I know the US has a way of calling the dog a bad name in order to hang it. And so I won't be in a hurry to join the narrative of the US that Rwanda is leading the march to war. Is it that the Rwandan government is leading the march to war, or there is something that the M23 rebel is asking for that has not been captured in the peace accord or agreement that is making them to still march on despite that agreement? And to what extent is Rwanda controlling the M23 rebel at the moment? Because I fear that we might have a situation in our hand like the invasion of Iraq in 2003, where we were told that there was weapon of mass destruction in Iraq. And that storyline was reiterated so much, followed by almost all the news media then, and almost all the governments in support of the US then, that they went and destabilized Iraq. And that destabilization of Iraq is still breeding conflict in the Middle East region till tomorrow. So is it that there is something that some powers, axes of powers, are looking for in Rwanda, and they are looking at any excuse to get into Rwanda? Or is it really that Rwanda is actually not suing for peace and pursuing? Yes, I know the US has all the latest and modern equipment to be able to track troop movement, to be able to understand how much troops the Rwandan government is supplying to the M23 rebel. But for me as a person, I just can't wrap my head around it to understand why a president will leave his country and then go and sign a peace accord in another country you know, if he is not truly interested in solving the question on ground. Can we look at the ethnic tension between Rwanda, Burundi, and Democratic Republic of Congo? Can we look at the ethnic affinities of people around that border region to be able to understand whether there is more than what everybody is telling us, rather than say, oh, it's Rwanda? I just hope that whatever the case is, uh, violent confrontation, because every of these accusations Rwanda has consistently denied. Rwanda has consistently said, I am not responsible. I am not involved in the ways people are saying I'm involved. Even when Burundi came during the week and said, oh, Rwanda has shot places near their border and that Rwanda is spoiling for war, Rwanda quickly said, no, I have no beef with Burundi and I'm not interested in starting a war with Burundi. So let us not fall into that trap of, the US railroading everybody into believing Rwanda is the bad guy in this scenario. I'm not saying that they are totally wrong, but US has lied to us far too many times and have gone to wage war with countries far too many times on the premises of lies, that it will be hard for me to just jump and take every narrative coming from the US hook, line, and sinker. And don't forget that
Yes.
US has made it abundantly clear that the sole reason why they want peace in that region is for US business interests to be able to thrive there. So I don't want to toe that their line that they are reporting at the UN at the moment.
100%. You bring out such an important question. Of course, these Rwanda's ties to M23 is not individually verified, except these reporters or claims that we get from sources. The answers, of course, I do not have for now, but you mentioned and highlighted what happened with Iraq, relying on U.S. claims. What role now can African multilateral organizations like ECOWAS play or should play instead of relying on US? Of course, like you mentioned, something is fishy here.
Yes, and that is why African Union needs to step up, because this is an African Union thing, and African Union needs to show leadership by intervening. I expected to see more of African Union intervention in many of these conflicts in DR Congo, in Sudan, and many other hotspots within the African subcontinent. Can African Union call all the leaders, both the rebel group leaders, the legitimate government leaders, and do a fact-finding mission to get to the root of the matter? Or is it that African Union itself had been railroaded into following wherever the US goes? Because on the long run, the US will come and take whatever products, whatever raw material they can take from our earth, and then go and make profit with it and come back to sell to us at exorbitant rate. But the damage in human carnage, the damage in depletion of our agricultural land and other things, we are the one that will live with the consequences for a very long time to come. So it is that high time that the African Union rise up and live up to its name to do independent investigation and be an unbiased ombudsman in this scenario, so that we can have a proper resemblance of peace.
Yes. With that, I would like to thank Mr. Paul for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, moving